Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, still trucking along with reviewing the 4 songs that were chosen during yesterday's Super Saturday, and song number 3, wasting no time whatsoever, comes to us from the lovely country of Croatia. Never been, I would kind of like to go, but that's neither here nor there. This year, Croatia returned to using Dora as their national final format, and when all was said and done, the Croatian candidate was revealed to be Roko Blažević, or just Roko for the purposes of the contest, though I am fond of his surname. I'm not sure why, I just like the name. And the song The Dream, presented half in English, half in Croatian, surprisingly. I mean, good for them, we didn't see that coming. And music by Jacques Hodak, and lyrics by Jacques Hodak, Andrija Ćurić, and Charlie Mason. So, quite a team to be feared here. This is... I don't really know what I can say to introduce this song other than I can tell that that was the team that worked on this song. So, enough rambling. Let's actually get on with what I think about Croatia's entry this year. Right, before I even get into the main nitty-gritty of what I think, I've got to say that this song certainly does leave one heck of a first impression in general. Like, wow, Roko has got some serious power to his voice. But the 2 key things that really leapt out at me once I listened to the song in full from my first listening were the Croatian language section just sounds a lot better to me personally, just in my ears, compared to the English language part, but maybe that's just me. And I actually said this out loud when I first heard the refrain. Why have you gotta bring God into it? Come on! Like, the English version of the refrain is my big sticking point with this song in general, and I'll elaborate on that later, but as someone who is exactly 0% religious whatsoever, the random shoving of religious imagery into the lyrics, suddenly out of nowhere, makes me feel a little bit excluded from the song's message. Like, the angels part I can deal with, but angels of God, like... Okay, and what about those of us who aren't of the godly inclination? Oh, and also, it kind of has a key change going on towards the end, and y'all know what I think about those, that you shouldn't really force them in where they don't belong, but in this instance, I will let it slide because it is absolutely nowhere near as incongruous and hastily inserted as the one in the UK's entry. Now then, on to the good points about this song. First up, obviously, the big thing that anyone could notice, even if you're not actively listening to the song, is that, as I said at the top of this review, Roko has an absolutely amazing voice. So, thinking about it, it's not all that surprising that this song has Jacques Hodak involved in its production. What I am really impressed by, though, is that the song uses Roko's voice to great effect without the song just being a vapid, empty excuse for him to show off his vocals. Instead, it's a sincere, standalone performance piece that just so happens to give him an opportunity to show us what he's got. It's incorporated rather than being specifically designed just for him to show off. It's a good balance, a harmonization between song with purpose and excuse for guy to show off. I've sort of gone off the rails a little bit here. Anyway, the instrumentation is a good demonstration of that idea as well, by way of it being a well-balanced fusion, once again, of classical instrumentation with modern nuances sprinkled in. This isn't your father's Balkan ballad, so to speak. We've got a swelling orchestral backing to it on one hand, with really rather well-fitting electronic elements keeping things going on the other hand. Meanwhile, amidst all of this, I do admire the optimism and beauty, honestly, in the song's lyrics. Admittedly, at present, I'm not fully familiar with the Croatian language side of things, but the English side, while a little bit insipid in places, is truly lovely at heart. It was clearly written from a place of hope and optimism. This is a song about loving love and creating a world full of love, and at the end of the day, isn't that what we all really want? And on that note, while I don't understand the Croatian part necessarily, I do think that, like all the other components of this song, it's worked in very nicely. It doesn't feel like a random language swap for the sake of it. It feels like it truly belongs. And to my ears, admittedly as someone who doesn't actually speak any of the Yugoslavia region languages, I think the Croatian section actually does sound substantially better than the English section. So a 100% Croatian version of this song would probably be even better to my tastes, at the very least. But the presence of an English language section, much less the song opening with an English language section, does keep things nice and accessible. So it's a good balance, that's the recurring theme here. Bravo indeed. On the flip side of all of that though, for all the love that I have for the song's positive message and lyrics, you can really tell that this is a Jacques Hodeck song at heart, for a number of reasons, chief among which being that the English language side kind of picks a word of the day and runs with it. With My Friend, that word was miracle. With The Dream, that word is, you guessed it, dream. If this song were to be completely in English from start to finish, you could probably make a comparatively deadly drinking game out of just how many times the word dream comes up in close succession. And there are places where it kind of feels a little bit forced in the lyric department. And then there's the English language refrain as a whole, which, to my ears at least, does sound more than a little bit contrived. I dream of love, you dream of love. The first connection I made to those lines was, I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. And then it's capped off with a really abrupt mention of God. That sort of makes the whole thing a little bit harder to take seriously to me, and that's part of the reason why I think the Croatian side sounds better. I don't know necessarily if it's lighter on the repetition or religious fronts, but it at least sounds a little bit more organic to my untrained, non-Croatian speaking ears. Now, stepping away from the lyrics once and for all here, there is also the small matter of the instrumental section that marks the transition from the English side to the Croatian side. Live, it looks and sounds kind of empty. Like, I enjoy it as a feature of the song, but Roko just stops singing, and it sounds like he should be starting a new verse at that point. And then he just sort of stands there, and the camera just sort of swoops around him, and I know that kind of feature is fairly common in traditional Balkan music, at least judging by entries that we've heard in the past from Serbia, from Montenegro, from Bosnia and Herzegovina, but that kind of unchoreographed, awkward pause didn't do Greece any favours last year, and it doesn't help matters here either. Please, Croatia, don't make the same mistake that Greece did last year. Find something to do to give us something to look at in that break. Don't just leave it as an awkward pause, please! Now then, how do I feel about this song personally? Honestly, it's kind of a tough call to make. I think, for now, I'll give it a personal 8 out of 10, but I do think it has plenty of chance to grow on me, to be honest. I do enjoy this kind of music at Eurovision in general, and Roko's voice really deeply impresses me. I just feel a little bit disconnected because of the ham-fisted inclusion of religious imagery, and I'm rather quick to grow bored of the lyrics repeating the word dream so much as well as the English refrain just being so repetitive in general. Musically though, I am very impressed, so Croatia's got that going for them at least. They get my seal of approval, it's just I have a couple of personal nitpicks. On the technical side, the jury that lives in my head gives this song a 9 out of 10. Musically, very impressive, that's the word I keep coming back to. It's impressive, there's a lot that impresses me here. Vocally, it's very impressive. Live, it's very impressive. You get the idea here. The only thing limiting its score, capping it at a 9, is that notion of repetition crossed with the abject absence of stage content during that musical break, and I get it. It's not easy to choreograph a moment like that, but they're gonna need something or it will feel out of place. With a song so classical in style, it's already kind of something of a gamble at this point in time in terms of how the public might react to this song. Don't let half-mast staging be a contributing factor in that risk. For now though, how is Croatia looking in the grand scheme of things? Well, from what I've been told, the return to a national final after several years of going internal was received fairly well by the Croatian public, so I'll say they're in a good place. As it is, since their return in 2016, with one of my favourite Eurovision entries of recent years for that matter, I think Croatia has picked great song after great song, and while I can't comment on the exact lineup of Dora 2019 because I wasn't able to watch it, it does seem like they've clawed back a fair bit of credibility for that format in general compared to previous editions many years ago, using the knowledge that the broadcaster has gained from the last 3 years of really competent internal selections. I trust Croatia to know what they're doing for the time being, and how can that not be a good thing? But are we going to see this song again on the night of the final? Will Croatia Roko me, baby? Okay, I'm sorry, I had to fit that in somehow. Well, Jacques Hodek, when he performed in person in 2017, did qualify, so his musical stylings do seem to be popular with both the public and the juries, and I think the juries will acknowledge Roko's really impressive, really committed stage presence and vocal delivery. But one has to ask, when Mr. Hodek qualified in 2017, how much of his public score came from the gimmick of him duetting with himself? I'm not trying to cast aspersions, it's genuinely an open question. In comparison with My Friend, The Dream is a much more straight-laced, played completely seriously song that hinges on the public feeling what Roko wants us to feel. And I think that a qualification for the final is very possible here, because the English side will connect to a lot of people around Europe, and the Croatian side, I think, will go down well with the fellow Yugoslavian countries, because Croatian, Serbian, Bosnian, Montenegrin are... I'm not going to say they're the same language, they're very similar in my understanding of them. Obviously, I am in no position to comment. But it is far from a guaranteed thing. People could just write this one off in the same way that they wrote off Croatia in 2012, for example. But that is just me. Those are just my thoughts. I want to hear what you think. Obviously, you can comment in the comments below. I read all of those, but you've probably heard me say that twice today already. And as ever, iCard in the corner of this video. Vote in that poll if you want to. Do you like the song? Do you not like the song? Do you feel somewhere in the neutral zone? Whatever it is, that's completely fine, because if we all thought the same thing, Eurovision wouldn't be a contest. For now, though, to Roko, well, Jacques, I suppose, because he's part of the team, all of Team Croatia in general, I wish you the very best of luck when you hit the stage in May. See you then.